Every home has a story, every designer has a journey, and every project begins with a conversation. Hello, all. My name is Romil Nagori, and I welcome you all to the season 2 of our show, The Plymart Show. The theme of this show is conventional businesses, unconventional methods. On this show, we invite people from the designing industry who has made a mark for themselves using unconventional methods. On this show, we invite them, they share their insights, their thought process, and their experience. So, if you are a homeowner who is planning to make a new house, or if you are a design enthusiast who wants to learn from the peers, or if you are a student who wants to enter into this industry, then this show is perfect for you. And today's guest is Ronak Patel from VPA Architects. Thank you so much, Ronak, for coming down to our show.
Thank you, Drumil, and thanks to the Plymart Show. We have done a lot of shoots with the projects, where we are explaining our projects, but this is something which is very unconventional, as you mentioned about your show. So I'm looking forward to the overall questions and also excited about the talk.
Super. Thank you so much for appreciating about our show. So let's get to know about his journey. So first question, tell us something about your journey. You always wanted to become an architect, or you thought of running away from it?
Architecture for me started during my schooling.
Okay.
During my school breaks and holidays, I used to visit the office, and I used to see the work, what is happening. I used to do some colors, I used to use tracing papers during those days. Not much of architectural thing, but maybe graphics, maybe some designs. You just exploring the mediums, I would say. And then eventually, I think maybe that just carried on stayed on. So after the studies, I opted for it, and that's how the architecture started. I would say it was a slow evolution or slow evolving process that has gone through. It was not a direct decision which is like straight away, something, this is what I want. It was not like that. It was a slow start, and then eventually ended up.
Okay. So at what point you realize that, okay, architecture is the one which is for me?
I would say there were not much other options during that time, but still architecture, it gave you that freedom, flexibility of doing new things, the creations, something that interested me during the higher secondary, through the higher secondary stage and those times, which is where I really wanted to look into more depth, maybe explore more, and something that interested me. It was not the numbers, not the other subjects, not the other things that really I wanted to explore into the much depth. But this is where I really liked passionately that this would be a journey which I would like to enter in.
And maybe it would be because you watched your father build a legacy, and because of that it inspired, or it just happened?
Yes, one of the reasons maybe because, as I mentioned, that we started early. That I started going to the office, started seeing him, the way he worked, and the nature of overall work. So that's when the initial start or initial process happened. That is one of the start point, of course.
Okay, nice. So in every field you go, there is some pressure associated with the famous last name. You joined your father's legacy business, and there's always a pressure to keep that legacy moving. So did you feel any pressure when you joined the business?
We cannot call it a pressure, but there were certain standards which were already set. There was a certain way, certain type of projects, certain deliverables which were already happening. So that was a bar, which was already there. We cannot go like below that or something which is not up to the mark. So something which was already said, we had to go higher. That was one thing which was there back of the mind, that we have to push the bar forward. We have to push the deliverables forward, the overall designs. So we can call it a contribution, not a pressure. That now how can, if I have added to the office, and I have started working, then how can I really contribute to the work where we set it to the another level, or we take it to the next level, So it was more of that.
And how did you find your own design? You said like a lot of things were there when you joined your business. Then how did you find your own design thinking or design voice?
I would say that is also a slow process where when I joined, of course there is a set architectural style, design style which is already happening in the office. So the initial days or the initial years are to absorb that style, to work on the similar style. So that's when you go with the entire process from the first line which is drawn until the last execution which is happening on site. So once you start going through the entire process, that's when you realize that what is my design style or what is my perspective on it. It may have been different than what is already
What is
made.
it? True.
Right, so it can have been different. So that's when gradually the process happened where I can start putting up my perspective, my designs, or my way of doing things, or maybe my proposals. So it was a very gradual shift, a very gradual process where I had my own path or my own way where I can start designing things on my own.
True. This gradual process is very important because a lot of times there's already a set business and when you enter it, you face a lot of resistance from the people around you.
Yes.
So, was there any particular process which you wanted to which you wanted to change when you joined the business, but initially you had to go through it and gradually you were able to change that process?
Yes, so in the office still, I mean, during that time also and now also, what I tell them is we should not have work which is in terms of like a labor work or you are repeating things where it is done repeatedly. It should be a clear drawing, it should be a clear line where the message is conveyed. Then I don't have to redraw it, I don't have to keep redoing it. Sometimes in drawings particularly what happens is that we keep doing it, but still there is not that clarity. So it should be done in a very neat manner where it is very conveyed in a clear manner on the site. And if that is done, then you don't have to put any other extra efforts in it. It is mainly for the site execution, and that's when the job is done. So that is one part. Other is in terms of changing, we have made a lot of standardizations now.
Nice.
Standardization in terms of the deliverables, the process. It's not the design. When I tell standard, it's not the design part, but it is the deliverables way of doing things where it is more like a checklist. So this checklist helps everybody. So that they have a ready reckoner in front of them where this is what is to be achieved or to be delivered. So that becomes very easier for entire team.
True. Once you grow to a certain stage, you require certain type of standardization in all your processes, and that's a very good answer that you are doing a lot of this.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your first project. I've heard from a lot of architects that the first project is always a memorable project. So, talk to us about your first project.
See, first project for me, and also in the initial years when I started, they were mostly housing projects. Okay, and the first one which I did was affordable housing.
Okay.
Now, when we tell affordable housing, what happens is that every square feet of the space is important.
True.
So the plans, the overall detailing, layout was to be done in such a way where none of the spaces are wasted. In a way, and we also achieve. It was a very big plot. It was about say 16,000 square yards or something like that. We had a lot of towers, about 16 towers coming into it. Two big chunks of common plots, green spaces. So the layout, the common spaces, how the interaction will happen in the common areas, and also at the unit and the cluster level. All those were detailed very carefully. It's very exciting when it is first project. When you are detailing out everything, when you want it to be perfect, those are the things when you start initially. So it was very much detailed, very much designed in a clear and neat way. That's how the first project happened.
And how did you land? How did you got this project?
See, the initial years, I did not have to, look for the project. They were there. It was, of course, by my dad that the projects were there. And then I started designing it and detailing it. That was allotted that, okay, this is what is the plot and the requirements are. Now, can you just start working on the design part? and that's how the project happened. But housing also in my college days, it has been one of my favorite subjects,
Oh.
where we have the housing semester and the housing designs that we did. And it has been my liking since then, and it will always be.
Nice. So, tell us about the thought process. What goes into your mind whenever you start designing a project?
So, first thing I'll tell you here is the site. Looking at the site, the climate, context is something which is the base study. That, of course, happens first. Second thing is the client brief. I always ask my clients that at least to write 2-3 pages, 2-3 A4s to write them.
And do client they write down
Yes. I mean, sometimes when they understand if what I'm trying to explain, they'll write it. They'll write those notes, because what happens is that those notes, what they make, is something that what they really want. Because those notes are coming from within themselves. When you're building something, maybe a house or office or any other projects, there's something in your mind that is there. But when you start looking at pictures, directly to the pictures or directly to other projects or other references, what happens is that you may be stuck to that particular space or image for some moment of time, not forever. Then it may change again. Then you might like different image, then a different image. It is like that. But if you just write those 2-3 images, pages initially, what will happen is that is something that you really want, that comes from within yourself. Now I'll just sit with this requirements. I'll read it twice, thrice to absorb this requirements, because I'm not making my own house. Otherwise, all the houses would look same. If it is if it is my design, my house, it will look same. But I'll try to absorb this pages, what are written, what he really wants, and then I'll try to shift this into a plan form or a house which has a soul, which is for themselves only. Which comes through their requirements, their way of living, their lifestyle, and that's how the plan or the ideas are generated, and that's how the direction is taken for the project.
Okay. So tell us, in a lot of your projects, you talk about blurring the lines between indoors and the outdoors. So now for a homeowner in Ahmedabad who is dealing with 45 degrees in summer, how do you explain this to him, or how does it look like?
See, 45 degrees, I understand, but it is not the case all around the year. Number one, there are few months, of course, which are very harsh. Now, blurring the lines, by that what we mean is that we can have very thick green outside, which can create microclimate for your pocket itself. We have done projects, housing projects, even commercial spaces, houses, where the green are integrated with the architecture itself, where the green pockets, green spaces, be it courtyards, be it open green plantation spaces, all these are integrated with the built part, and this is very essential. There is no alternate to it. So with this plantation, water bodies, and the other green areas, it always helps to create that microclimate.
Okay.
And we always emphasize on bigger verandas, bigger outdoor spaces, because that connection can never be lost. You know how a 15-minute or a 30-minute walk in the garden, it does wonders to your body, be it mentally, physically. We know how your body feels after doing that. So just that connection or interaction with nature, whenever you are home, maybe a half an hour or hour in that veranda, it can just make your day. So that way the outdoor spaces are very important. But at the same time, to deal with the climate, we have other alternates, which when applied correctly, you can have comfortable spaces, comfortable outdoor spaces.
Okay. So you mentioned about the courtyards. So now tell us, are these courtyards becoming a new trend or a new living room in the modern Indian contemporary housing?
Courtyards have always been part of our houses. The main reason for it is, of course, climate, the weather that we have, and also through the family pattern. or the lifestyle pattern that we follow. Courtyards have always been like a chalk, like a gathering spaces for the hot air of the which is developed within the house as an air vent to the spaces. So courtyard can never be separated. I mean, especially when we are talking about our climate, and it can be dealt in different ways, designed in different ways, but it is always integral part of the design.
Okay. So you mentioned that all of these green spaces, courtyards, uh, the air pockets that you have, with the temperature that you maintain. So now, with all these things, tell us, does it affect the human life? How does it affect the human life?
Um, See, it affects in your well-being, in your way of living. People who have already done bigger houses, which are not very much interconnected, have realized that how important it is to be a house done in a way which is very integrated, where I am connected with all my family members. Where that disconnection does not happen. Number one. Number two, you are always connected with the green, which it can be a plantation area in the center of your house, maybe. So you are always connected, because that is how we are designed as humans. You are kept to be walking within the nature. That's what we should be doing. That's how we are designed. So if we are into that space, that affects your well-being, overall health. This is something which is there happening subconsciously. You don't have to make any efforts for it, but it is adding to your lifestyle and way of living.
So does a good architecture increase your productivity also?
It does, of course it does, because when you design any space, that is how you are making people to move, sit, walk, have a graze outside the windows. You are actually drawing the entire pattern. That's how many people are going to live, work, sleep, etc. So it creates a very big effect.
Okay, nice. You mentioned the word natural element. So I've seen a lot of your projects. You use a lot of natural materials in your projects. So do you have this affinity towards the materials, or is it because of the client's brief?
No, I would really like to keep materials in its natural form. There is no point like cladding it up, and there is no point adding up a lot of cosmetics. If you have done a beautiful RCC wall, just let it be. If you have done a good wooden ceiling or wooden floors, stones, the way we use stones in our projects. So I think natural materials, they tend to be timeless. It gives you that connection, which you are already, which is already embodied within yourself. To have that connection with those natural materials, you are very easily connected with wood, stone, land in a way, sky in a way. So these connections are important whenever the materials are applied around spaces around you. So that's what I feel. They should be kept in their natural form.
I saw one of your projects in which staircase was made out of the stone and the wood, and it was kept in a very natural element.
Right.
So tell us how feasible it is. Like you had to search through a lot of pieces to find that exact particular stone or a wood piece, or you just saw a particular thing and then you thought, oh, let me just incorporate this in my design.
No, so that particular project, it has all. I mean, the materials are used in its natural form or barren form. Steel is there. There is glass. A lot of wood is used. Stone in terms of claddings and other ways, floorings, etc. So when it came to staircase, we thought, how can we just combine all these materials which are already used in the house, and we just make a sculptural staircase out of it. So there is a big stone boulder which we got on site. It was actually in the center of the house, so it was to be placed with the crane, from the top, before we cast the slab.
Okay.
So the stone boulder was placed there, and the steps were carved carved the initial few steps, and then we had the steel member which was attached to the stone boulder, and then the wooden steps on top. That's how the staircase was fabricated.
We have seen that in a lot of projects you use cantilevers. So is it the affection towards the cantilevers or is it in the client's brief?
No, I would say cantilevers have been part of our design in a lot of our houses. It is mostly used as a extension of slab, jutting out, also for the overall aesthetics, and it forms the part of shaded verandas. So with our climate and context, it really helps when the verandas are long shaded, which becomes a good outdoor sitting areas and outdoor areas in connection with the nature. And it's always challenging structurally how we can pop out this cantilevers, whereby you actually don't notice a lot of structural alterations or structural interventions which are gone behind it, but it is just the overall visual appearance which is observed. So that way we really try and add a few cantilever elements in most of our projects.
Okay. So tell us about one of the most memorable project of yours.
Memorable and also celebrated, I would say Kalrav Villa is one of them, whereby the client brief was very minimal and a lot of design part, execution, design decisions, detailing, everything was left upon us. And the house was kept, it had a very minimal footprint. And we had a lot of thick green foliage which was already there on site, and the house was actually fitted into that thicket green area. So it had a completely different drama at the eye level, whereby you don't even observe the glass or even the house. It is all the green, thick green trees that we see, and the house just becomes like a backdrop or a screened facade behind this greenscapes. And the materials were very much kept true to itself, very minimal built up areas, very full of natural light, ventilations, use of natural material, stones, steel, wood becoming primary materials for the project. And it was, the overall form was also designed like a flying bird. That's how that's because of the client's passion for the birds. That's the overall form which was derived. And it has been one of the projects where from design until the execution and up to the last detailing, it has been done into the utmost satisfaction to us. So that's how it becomes one of the memorable project.
So, in fact, I saw the video also of that particular project. It was looking very good, exquisite, fantastic. I also read it somewhere that you like to play with the shadows of the sun. So, tell us, how do you manage to do that particular? You, based on the movement of sun, you tend to place the objects, or it just happens?
No, it's with the sun, of course, with the sun path. And it is with intention, where you want to use them as sun breakers, as a sun shading elements, or you want to control the light, where we might not end up with a lot of glare or too much of excess light coming into the space. So that's how the light is controlled. And the elements which are used are, of course, pergolas, the long shades. As we discussed, pergolas may be concrete, metal, or which are materials we use, and in appropriate directions, whereby we don't want again that excess heat coming in, but ambient light and less glare into the space. So that's how the sun path with reference to the design elements are controlled.
So do you actually study the movement of sun in the first part, or once you and then place the objects accordingly, or it just
Yes, it is with the sun path, and we have softwares nowadays where we can actually put the model on site, study the sun path,
Okay.
have exact amount of shadow which is to be casted. So that's how the sun path and the openings with respect to sun path are derived.
Okay. So the theme of the show is conventional businesses, unconventional methods. So was there any specific project where you took an unconventional decision which raised a lot of eyebrows initially, but later on it defined that particular space and the people around it felt very good?
See, I would say most of the houses that you see are maybe with glass windows and opening connected with outside, for light, air, etc. Now, one house recently that we did, the brick wall, it's like a brick parda. That's how the name is derived. So all the houses, the site is actually facing west. Now all the houses which are built around it, if we see the entire streetscape, they're all glass and
Glass.
looking outside towards the road. But we thought, what if we actually screen the west? We actually screen the west, we hide that harsh west light, we restrict it, and we just have the correct amount of light which is coming into that space. I cannot even confine those spaces into a complete jali, whereby I don't have the view outside, or whereby it is very much like a cage or a prison kind of a space. We even did not wanted that. So initially we started with this brick jali, and then we controlled the light, air, etc. in a very controlled manner,
Okay.
whereby the overall space does not become dull in terms of light, in terms of usability. We still have that comfort within the space, but still we have that screening.
Screening.
So rather than a glass facade, we completely screened it. That is something, it's not very unconventional, of course, but not very much porous or not very much connected to the street.
Was it difficult to convince the client that we are putting every house as a glass wall and then we are putting a brick screen in front of this house?
I think it was just certain interactions that we had with them, whereby they were assured of good positive space, not completely blocked or screened, and where they were comfortable that, okay, we understand that the screen will be livable. There is certain barrier or screen which is coming up, which will eventually cut off the street noise also, and the harsh sun heat and glare also. So that way they were aware of what's happening. They were with us on it.
So a lot of times you name a particular project. Say you mentioned about Kalrao Villa, you mentioned about the brick wall. How do you come up with such innovative names for a project? Is it you that come up, or it is the client which gives the name?
Not always me, not always the client, but sometimes it's open discussion whereby I explain key points. It can be even my colleagues, my team, and we also have author. I mean, she writes for us for all our projects. She also suggests us some names. So whereby the key points, the key consideration, and the house perspective is given to them. Sometimes the name is from day one, because that's the concept of the design. But sometimes we look into those key points, and that's how the appropriate name is given to the project. So there are different ways that are how the names come up.
Okay.
But we like to name them, so that it is easier to discuss, talk, and even to publish, to share. So that way, appropriate name is given to the project.
So once all these projects they get completed, the entire team, does they come together with the client? Do they celebrate, or do they just move on to the next project?
No, so the housewarmings become one of the ways where we all come in together. That is one. But other part is when the site is about to finish, we try and have a visit whereby all our team members, we are all together and we are visiting that project. Maybe it may be the last site visit before the handover, or it can be within the process. But where if the project has really come up very well, and we really want to show to all the team members, that's when we all visit together. We have a lot of learnings, discussions. What if we did that? What if we did not do this? What could have been option to this? There are a lot of discussions still happening. Designs are never complete. You cannot achieve 100 on 100 for the design.
Okay.
They are always left not incomplete, but they are always left. There is a loose end at the end,
Or you may
whereby
say-
the client, whereby the occupants, users can evolve little bit to that and take it forward from that space where it is left. So that's how that little bit loose end, it helps to have their own version of things and spaces.
Or you may can say that there is always a scope of improvement in that particular design.
Yes, there is scope of improvement, not in terms of the built part or built structure, but in terms of adding their own perspective, their values, their likings, in smaller ways,
Okay.
and they can take the space more forward.
So tell us about wood as a product. Uh, Wood as a natural element, and how do you use it in your projects, and talk to us about the product as a whole.
Wood is something which is forever. That is
Okay.
one. We have seen the usage since the past homes that we see, and today also as a material. So it of course brings in that very soft, warm feel with it. Endless applications that comes with it in whichever way you use floors, ceilings, walls, even the building frames, etc. But when I'll just share my recent experience. For example, we went to Bhutan. Now there is a very extensive use of wood. Because they have wood as a natural resource. They are very organizedly using it, where the cutting is restricted. It is through time when that cutting is done only for the restricted areas, restricted sites, etc. Then it is left open for very longer time, which is seasoned in terms of logs, and then it is used entirely for the complete building process, whereby the frame is wood, the floors, etc. Everything that you see is wood. So it gives you that very warm and cozy feel overall. And it has a very strong context particular there, where you are actually in the wood house. That's what the feel is achieved. So it gives you a lot of life, warmth. It can be reused in a way, and it comes with endless opportunities. So I think it is something which has to be there in all your projects.
So now a lot of homeowners would also be watching this show. So I'll now ask you few questions from the homeowner's perspective. So tell us, if someone is designing their dream house, then what should be that one good conversation that he should make with their architect? Like a lot of times, the homeowners in their brief, they write a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we feel that the project has something missing. So what is that one single conversation that a homeowner should need to do with an architect to ensure that the house is perfect?
I think one important thing, where people are actually scrolling images, and that's what the discussion that we had. The dialogue or the interaction should be much on the experiences that they have had in past.
Okay.
Clients might have visited few other houses, few other resorts, or few other spaces whereby they have certain experiences. That this is what I really liked about certain verandas, or certain living room, or certain entry porch. These are the spaces that they might have experienced at different places.
Places.
So these are the experience which should be recorded, which should be discussed, and then you can have a space which is better than that, or it is easier for a designer to understand their experiences on certain spaces. So rather than other references and resources, it comes through their own experience and their overall use of spaces that they've already done in past. Which can be a smaller house. For example, my older house, my maternal grandparents' house, that was something that has kept a very long impact on me. Because those were the school days, and the summer holidays days, where we use that space in very multiple ways. So what if I have a space like that? There are other spaces which we have experienced in past. What if we have a space like that? So that is more important to have as an experience, as an initial thought for a discussion. And apart from that, it can be their dislikings, something which they really don't like, which can be discarded straight away, and then coming up to the likings or the liked choices. That is how they can come up to a certain set of decisions or direction.
Okay. So you mentioned that a lot of houses, they have become bigger. So tell us, what would you prefer, bigger houses or better houses?
Of course, better houses, in terms of uh, architecture, in terms of design interventions, in terms of solutions which have come up with the designs. So it is always better to have a better house, a better home
Okay.
than just the bigger one.
Hmm. So tell us, if a client has come to you with a limited budget. Of course, all the clients would be saying that we have a very limited budget. Then what would you advise to them? Where should you advise them to spend more, and where should you advise them to save more?
Uh, I think when it is essential that the spaces, the way they are designed, that essence or core has to be built, has to be done. There can be later on additions, modifications in terms of interiors or the more of aesthetical part, or even for the decor part. All these things can come later on. But the first essence is to have the correct spaces throughout the house, correct built up that they are aiming for, and what I mean is correct architectural perspective, which is put in first, which is done in a way, and then you can later on keep adding as per your requirements. So that is something which can be done when you are working in a certain budget.
Okay.
Okay, making it less cosmetic,
More functional.
more functional, more utilitarian. Less of design. I mean, the less of cosmetics which is going around. So that's what it can be controlled.
So more number of clients come to you focusing on cosmetics, or more number of clients come to you focusing on functionality?
No, I think functionality is primary.
Okay.
Functionality and the overall utility of the spaces, sizes of the each space which is given, that is the primary aspect. And then the aesthetics and the other parts can.
So because of the Instagram and Pinterest, people always say कि यार घर एकदम बहुत बड़ा शानदार बनना चाहिए, and the people should come and appreciate, like it should look very grand. So have you ever come across such type of brief where the client says, no, functionality, we can work on it later on, but the house should look luxurious?
Yes, of course, people have requirements whereby they want, like, sometimes showy, or sometimes it should be impressive in a way for guests and friends. But the primary thing is that they should understand what they really want. It is going to be used every day by them. That's the primary usage of the space. So how they are moving in, what all spaces do they really want? How would they use certain spaces in certain ways? That should be the primary objective. Once that is achieved, then you can have other spaces whereby you are welcoming your guests, friends, for other recreational areas and all.
Okay.
So that is something that the primary aspect should be the client's own way of using spaces and house.
Okay. What if someone is designing a very small, cozy, compact space and want to make it look luxurious? So what are the tips for such type of clients?
There are ways, if it is a small space, using bright colors, not the darker ones, more glass and more light into that space, minimal approach, only what is required, something which is not needed can be hidden, stored in the storages, etc. Uh, Not putting up too many design elements around. Maybe it can be ceiling, wall, or floor. So not too many elements, less of materials which your eyes and brain have to analyze. It is more easy, clean, neat space. That's something which is easy for you to go in and out, to use that space. That's how the smaller spaces can be dealt with.
Okay. Uh, so, if someone is making their dream house, should they be focusing on 20 years ahead, or should they be focusing on just next 1 or 2 years?
No, it has to be programmed, designed, and derived in a way whereby you are at least building for next 25 years. It is not easy to rebuild again and again, or modify, or keep changing. There is a lot of energy, time, hours which are going in. So it is important to have that vision of next 20-25 years at least for each space which is designed for a longer span.
So, one last question before we move on to the next segment. Ronak, tell us, what does architecture mean to you?
Architecture, I would say it is a constant discovery of experiences, light, space, volumes. Um, it is a constant search. It is never ending. It is something which I'm still looking for. Once you have done something already, you put it aside and then you start afresh for the next one. So it is a constant search, a constant um, a constant look into the depth and the spaces that you really want to achieve. It is logical. It is it is, I mean, you can reach as close to the apt answer, or apt space which is to be achieved. So I would say it's a constant process which keeps on. It is a data. Sometimes thoughts or ideas, when we discuss, it does not come with straight away when you are sitting on the desk. It cannot. The building cannot come that way. But it is the program which you have left somewhere in your brain. You are thinking on it. You have kept it somewhere, and it can come up anytime. And that time it has to be noted, recorded. Otherwise it can just quickly go, whatever you have thought of, or whatever your search is going through. So that is very important, that these ideas are recorded in a way, and that's the constant process that we are going through.
Okay. So this reminds me of one more question. Do you have such dedicated times where you switch off your mobile phones or put your mobile phone away, and then you make an extra conscious effort to build designs creatively, or have that thought process where you have that creative freedom? So do you have such type of time?
Um, Not dedicatedly, but of course, concentration helps. Concentrating in certain period of time or certain hours, etc. But otherwise, it is any time. It can be during your sleep, or as soon as you wake up, or maybe sometimes while you are driving. Anytime. It is something which is stored unconsciously, and it is still churning inside in your brain. The process is happening, and then you'll have that output at any point of time of the day. It cannot be like just on the desk, and now I have to finish this, now I have to do this, I have to think of this. It cannot come like that.
Okay.
But it's constant.
Do you have those recreational activities where you are where you move out of your daily work zone, and then you have some some me time where you get a chance to explore yourself.
Yes, I'll add to this. There is traveling which really helps to this, because when you travel, when it is not your routine day like it is every day, what happens is that your way of thinking, way of looking things, way of observing it, it changes. You are seeing new things. You are looking at other materials, spaces. So there is a lot of, by these observations, what is happening is that a lot of things are being recorded in a way, and with this records, it will change your interpretation, your way of doing things, your output. It will make a very big impact on this, and that's how you continuously keep evolving. Otherwise, if there is just single process happening, then there is no evolution to it. But if traveling being one of the things which keeps adding to your experiences, and that's how your design, your approach, your way of doing things, it makes a big impact on you.
Also, you tend to observe the other architecture, other spaces, and then it helps you in evolving your design thinking.
It is always important. It is always important to have ideal case studies, looking at things which are already done. What is good in it, what is left out, or what is not attended to. So all these things will really help, and then you can start afresh with your own designs or your own projects. So observing to the case studies, things which are already done, very much important part of process.
Okay, superb. Thank you so much, Ronak. Now we move on to the next segment of this particular show, and this segment we have specifically kept for this season because we wanted to know the other side of the guest. So I'll quickly open up my phone and we'll quickly have a rapid fire round. So tell us 3 words to describe Ronak Patel.
Simple, bold, and logic.
Perfect. If you had not become an architect, then you would have become
Industrialist.
industrialist.
I've always fascinated this. I've always dreamt of this. It is something which I really want to look into deeply.
Is it because the amount of money that they make, or
Not
it is
just
because
money,
of the lifestyle?
not just money, but it is the manufacturing process, which actually impresses me, which is something that interests me. So always an industrialist.
Okay, perfect. Which one would you prefer? Designing a visually stunning home or designing a home that ages beautifully?
Designing a home which is beautiful forever, timeless,
Okay.
ages beautifully.
Morning sketch or late night sketch?
Morning sketch.
Morning sketch. Okay. Luxury to Ronak Patel means
Basics.
basics. Okay. One trend that looks beautiful online but fails badly in real life.
For me, I would say maximalism. I mean, something, it might be looking good, but I don't know how occupied your brain, your eyes might become. I really don't know, but no maximalism for me.
Okay. What's harder? Designing a great architecture or managing clients and contractors?
No, designing a great architecture.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. One piece of advice
If you've already designed a great architecture, if you have already put a lot of efforts in it, it's something which is to be done in a proper way, then people will follow. They'll be in your team, and the things will come up well. But the initial part, the initial process has to be very much apt and correct.
For a lot of people, it becomes difficult managing clients and contractors, but this is very right that if the architecture is good, it becomes easier to deal with them.
Yes.
Material you wanted to explore more?
Concrete.
Concrete. Nice. The most overrated luxury material people waste money on?
Marble.
Okay. Perfect. One last question. Rank the following in the order of preference: concrete, metal, glass, wood, and stone.
See, I use all of them equally. I would
Okay.
say they are used equally and at the correct spaces in all my projects, I would say. But still, stone,
Okay.
concrete, steel, glass, and the fifth
Wood.
and wood.
Perfect. So with this, we come to the end of this part of the segment. Thank you so much, Ronak, for coming down to our show and having a wonderful conversation. Any last lines or last few words which you want to speak before we end the show?
So thank you, Drumil. It has been wonderful talking to you and discussing so many various topics. And one thing that I would add here is that people should start looking and to their inner self first. Something that comes from within inside, rather than just jumping to conclusion, images, and other interpretations. Just try and find out yourself what really your needs are, what really suits you well. That because that is something which can only come when the question is asked to yourself, right? So that is important at this phase of time when there are so many things happening, at rapid speed. There is no sometimes speeds, I mean the constructions, etc., they are beyond your control and imaginations. So it is very important to have these conclusions and your own interpretations to it. Yeah, thank you.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with this, we come to the end of this show. Thank you so much for watching this show till the end. If you have enjoyed this show, then please share it with your friends and colleagues and do subscribe to our channel. Until then, stay curious, keep innovating, and never be afraid to challenge the ordinary. Thank you so much.